You know that feeling when you clock in for what you think is going to be a normal Tuesday afternoon shift, and by the time you clock out, your entire life has been flipped upside down? Yeah, that was me 3 months ago. My name is Marcus, and I've been working as a bank teller at First National for about 6 years now. I've dealt with difficult customers before, rude customers, impatient customers. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for the day I met Catherine Morrison. Before I get into this absolutely wild story, if you're enjoying this content and want to hear more real workplace drama, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for how this one ends. So let me set the scene for you. It's a Tuesday, around 2:30 in the afternoon. The lunch rush is over, and the bank is pretty quiet. I'm at window 3, just finishing up some paperwork from my last transaction when I see her walk in. Expensive designer handbag, perfectly tailored pantsuit, heels that probably cost more than my car payment, and this aura of self-importance that you could feel from across the room. She walks right past the little rope line we have set up, completely ignores the fact that there are 2 other customers waiting, and comes straight to my window. Now, I'm a professional. I've been trained to handle all types of situations. So I smile, and I politely say, "Good afternoon, ma'am. I'll be happy to help you. But there are a couple of customers ahead of you in line." She looks at me like I just spoke a foreign language. Then she looks back at the 2 people waiting, looks back at me and says, "I don't wait in lines. Do you know who I am?" Here we go, I think to myself, but I keep my smile. "I apologize, ma'am, but our policy is to serve customers in the order they arrive. I'll be with you in just a few minutes." Her face turns this interesting shade of red, and she lets out this exaggerated sigh before stomping back to the end of the line. The other 2 customers give me these sympathetic looks, like they already know what kind of day I'm about to have. I help the next 2 customers with their transactions, basic stuff, deposits, and a withdrawal, and then finally, it's her turn. She walks up to my window, and before I can even greet her properly, she throws her ID and a withdrawal slip onto the counter. Not hands it to me, throws it. I need to withdraw $15,000, cash, large bills. I pick up her ID, Catherine Morrison, and then I notice the business card she's placed on top of it. Chief Executive Officer of Morrison Tech Solutions. She's watching me read it, waiting for some kind of reaction. I've learned over the years that the people who are actually important rarely feel the need to announce it. "Certainly, Ms. Morrison. I'll need to verify your account first. This will just take a moment." I pull up her account on my computer, and everything looks normal. She's got the funds. No holds. Nothing unusual. "Okay, Ms. Morrison, I can definitely help you with this withdrawal. For your security, I'll need to count out the cash in front of you, and then I'll ask you to count it as well before you leave the window. Is that all right?" She rolls her eyes. "Just give me my money. I don't have all day." I head to the vault, get the cash, and bring it back to my station. This is where I need you guys to pay attention, because this detail becomes crucial later. I count out the money right there at my window, in full view of the security cameras, with Catherine standing right there watching me. $15,000, 150, $100 bills. I count it twice, out loud, being very deliberate about it. Then I slide the stack toward her. "Miss Morrison, here's your $15,000. Would you please count it to verify?" She snatches up the money, doesn't count it, just shoves it into her designer handbag. "I'm sure it's fine," she says, and starts to walk away. But I've been doing this long enough to know better. "Ma'am, I really do need you to count it before you leave the window. It's bank policy, and it protects both of us." She spins around, and I can see the anger flashing in her eyes. "Are you suggesting I don't trust you? Are you calling me stupid? I said it's fine, and with that, she storms out of the bank. A whole interaction took maybe 10 minutes, but I had this sinking feeling in my gut. I documented everything in my transaction log, made a note that she refused to count the cash, and moved on with my day. Have you ever had a customer interaction that just felt off, even though you did everything by the book? Drop a comment and let me know, because I'd love to hear I'm not the only one who gets these weird vibes sometimes. The rest of my shift was completely normal. I helped probably another 20 customers, closed out my drawer at 6 p.m., and everything balanced perfectly. Not a penny off. I went home, had dinner, played some video games, and went to bed thinking that would be the last I'd ever hear from Catherine Morrison. I was so wrong. The next morning, I'm barely through the door of the bank when my manager, Susan, calls me into her office. Now, Susan is cool. We've worked together for 4 years. She's always had my back, and I've never had any issues with her. But the look on her face that morning told me something serious was going down. Marcus, we need to talk. Have a seat. I sit down and my mind is racing through everything I did yesterday, trying to figure out if I made some kind of mistake. Susan slides a piece of paper across her desk. It's a formal complaint form. I received this email at 7 a.m. this morning from a Catherine Morrison. She's claiming that you shortchanged her on a cash withdrawal yesterday. She says she asked for $15,000, but when she got home and counted it, she only had $14,000. My stomach drops. Susan, that's not possible. I counted that money twice in front of her. I asked her to count it before she left, and she refused. It's all on the security footage. Susan nods. I believe you, Marcus. But here's where it gets complicated. Ms. Morrison is threatening to file a police report for theft. She's also threatening to sue the bank and has made it very clear in her email that she's a CEO with connections. She's demanding that we either return her missing $1,000 immediately or terminate your employment. I can feel my heart pounding in my chest. 6 years of perfect service. 6 years of never being short in my drawer, never having a single complaint. And now this woman is trying to destroy my career over a lie. What do we do? Susan leans back in her chair. First, we're going to review the security footage. Then, we're going to audit your drawer from yesterday. And then we're going to document everything and present it to Ms. Morrison. But Marcus, I need you to be straight with me. Is there any possibility, any chance at all that you miscounted? I look her dead in the eye. Susan, I gave her exactly $15,000. I'd bet my job on it. Actually, I guess I am betting my job on it. We spend the next 2 hours in the security office going through the footage frame by frame. And there it is, clear as day. Me counting out 150 bills, sorting them into stacks of 10, counting them twice, and sliding them across to Catherine Morrison. You can even see on the footage how she snatches the money without counting it and shoves it in her bag. The timestamp, the angle, everything. It's all there. Susan makes copies of everything. My transaction log, the security footage, my drawer audit, which came out perfectly, balanced. And she prepares a formal response to Ms. Morrison's complaint. I'm going to call her and ask her to come in so we can review this together. Hopefully, we can resolve this quickly. But Catherine Morrison doesn't want to resolve anything quickly. When Susan calls her, she absolutely loses it. I can hear her screaming through the phone from across the office. She's not coming to the bank. She doesn't need to see any footage. She knows what happened. She's already called her lawyer and the police. This is when I realize that this isn't about money. This is about something else entirely. That afternoon, 2 police officers show up at the bank. I'm in the middle of helping a customer when I see them walk in and head straight to Susan's office. My hands are literally shaking as I finish the transaction. A few minutes later, Susan comes out and quietly asks me to join them in her office. The officers introduce themselves, and they explain that Catherine Morrison has filed a theft report claiming that I stole $1,000 from her. One of the officers, a middle-aged black woman named Officer Jenkins, seems skeptical from the start. "We need to hear your side of the story," she says, pulling out a notepad. So I walk them through everything. The transaction, how I counted the money twice, how Catherine refused to count it, all of it. Then Susan shows them the security footage. Officer Jenkins watches it twice, then looks at her partner. "This is pretty clear cut." The teller counted out the full amount. The customer refused to verify it. "I don't see any theft here." But her partner, a younger white officer whose name tag says Rodriguez, seems less convinced. The customer is claiming she counted the money at home, and it was short. How do we know what happened between leaving the bank and getting home? This is the moment I realize what's really happening. In Catherine Morrison's mind, there's no way a young black bank teller could be telling the truth over a wealthy white CEO. This isn't about the money. This is about power. This is about her believing that her word should matter more than mine, more than the security footage, more than documented evidence. Officer Jenkins clearly sees it too. She turns to her partner. The burden of proof is on the accuser. We have video evidence showing the full amount was given. Unless she has evidence that money went missing after she left the bank, there's no case here. She turns to me. "Son, I'm sorry you're going through this, but from what I can see, you did everything right. We'll include all of this in our report." After the officers leave, Susan puts her hand on my shoulder. "Marcus, I want you to know that I fully support you. The bank fully supports you. We're not terminating your employment, and we're going to fight this if she tries to take it further," but I can see the worry in her eyes. We both know that even if I'm completely innocent, this kind of accusation can ruin a reputation. At night, I barely sleep. I keep replaying the interaction over and over in my mind. Did I miscount somehow? No, I counted twice. Did a bill stick together? No, I fanned them all out. Could she have miscounted at home? She never counted them at all. The only explanation that makes sense is that she's lying. But why? The next few days are torture. I go to work, I do my job, but I can feel people looking at me differently. News spreads fast in a small bank, and everyone knows about the accusation. Some of my coworkers are supportive, telling me they know I'd never do something like that. But others are quiet around me, like they're not sure what to believe. Then, on Friday, exactly 1 week after the initial incident, Catherine Morrison shows up at the bank again. She doesn't come to my window. She goes straight to Susan's office and demands a meeting. Susan, to her credit, refuses to meet with her without a witness present. So she calls in our regional manager, a guy named Tom who's been with the company for like 20 years. I'm not in the meeting, but Susan tells me later what happened. Catherine comes in with printed spreadsheets, transaction records, and a whole presentation about how she's tracked her finances, and she's definitely missing $1,000. She's demanding that the bank reimburse her immediately and that I be fired. She's threatening to go to the media, to post about it on social media, to contact the corporate headquarters, all of it. Tom, who I'd never met before this, apparently sits there and listens to her entire rant. Then he calmly pulls out his laptop and shows her the security footage again. He shows her my perfect transaction history. He shows her the police report that cleared me of any wrongdoing. And then he says something that I will forever be grateful for. "Ms. Morrison, I understand you believe there's been an error. However, every piece of evidence we have shows that our employee performed his duties correctly and professionally. If you have evidence to the contrary, we'd be happy to review it. But based on what we have, this matter is closed." Catherine loses it, and I mean completely loses it. She starts screaming about how she's a CEO, how she has power, how she'll destroy the bank's reputation. She threatens to call every news outlet in the city. She says, And this is a direct quote that Susan repeated to me. "I will not be treated this way by some thug in a bank uniform." Thug. There it is. The mask finally slips completely off, and her real issue becomes crystal clear. Tom immediately stands up and asks her to leave. He tells her that if she continues to harass the bank or its employees, they'll pursue legal action against her. Catherine storms out, and I honestly think that's going to be the end of it. But Catherine Morrison isn't done. Not even close. That weekend, she goes on a rampage on social media. She posts on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere about how she was robbed by First National Bank. She doesn't use my name, but she describes me in enough detail that anyone who knows me would recognize who she's talking about. Young black male teller, window 3, works afternoons. She starts a hashtag called Justice for Catherine. She posts screenshots of her bank statements, though conveniently none that would actually prove her case. What's your take on people who blast companies on social media before exhausting all proper channels? Have you ever been on either side of a situation like that? Her posts start getting traction. Not a ton, but enough. People who don't know the full story start commenting, sharing, expressing outrage. Some local news outlets even pick it up as a potential story about bank fraud. My phone starts blowing up with people sending me links to her posts. My mom calls me crying, asking me what's going on. My younger brother wants to go confront her. It's a nightmare. Monday morning, I wake up to a text from Susan telling me not to come into work. The bank has decided to put me on paid administrative leave while they handle the media situation. Paid leave sounds nice until you realize it's just a polite way of saying they're distancing themselves from you until the storm passes. I feel betrayed, even though logically I understand they're trying to protect the business. I spend the next week in my apartment, barely leaving except to get food. I watch as Catherine's posts continue, as more people share her story. The narrative becomes about a big, bad bank protecting a corrupt employee. Nobody knows my side. Nobody's seen the security footage. Nobody cares about the truth when the lie is so much more compelling. Then something happens that I never expected. One of Catherine's own employees reaches out to me. I get a DM on Instagram from someone I've never met, someone named Jennifer, who says she works in accounting at Morrison Tech Solutions. She says she needs to talk to me urgently and asks if we can meet somewhere public. We meet at a coffee shop downtown. Jennifer is nervous, constantly looking over her shoulder like she's afraid of being caught. She tells me she's seen Catherine's posts about the bank incident. And then she drops a bomb. "Marcus, I need you to know something. Catherine did this exact same thing at another bank about 2 years ago, before I worked for her. But I heard about it from other employees. She claimed the teller shortchanged her, threatened to sue, made a huge scene. Eventually, the bank just paid her to make her go away. My mouth literally falls open. Are you serious?" Jennifer nods. There's more. About 6 months ago, she tried to return a piece of jewelry to a store, claiming it was defective. It wasn't. She just wanted her money back after wearing it to an event. When they refused, she caused such a scene that security had to escort her out. Then she left horrible reviews everywhere, claimed the store was racist, the whole thing. She has a pattern of this behavior. Why are you telling me this? Jennifer looks down at her coffee. Because I'm tired of watching her destroy people. She's a bully. She uses her position and her money to intimidate people, and she specifically targets people she thinks won't fight back. I've seen her berate assistants until they cry. I've watched her humiliate interns in front of the whole office. And honestly, I think there's a racial component to who she chooses to target. I've kept records of incidents at work because I'm building a case with HR, but this thing with you pushed me over the edge. Someone needs to stand up to her. She slides a folder across the table. Inside are printed emails, documented complaints from other Morrison Tech employees. Even a news article about the previous bank incident that Jennifer managed to dig up. I could lose my job for this. But it's the right thing to do. I don't know what to say. This stranger just handed me ammunition that could change everything. Jennifer, thank you. Seriously, thank you. Stop her, Marcus. Stop her from doing this to someone else. I take the folder home and spend hours going through everything. A pattern is undeniable. Catherine Morrison is a serial complainer who uses false accusations to get what she wants. And she's been getting away with it because people are afraid of her. Money, her position, and her willingness to destroy reputations. The next morning, I call Tom, the regional manager. I tell him everything Jennifer told me and ask if I can come in to show him the documentation. He agrees immediately. When I spread everything out on his desk, I watch his expression change from interested to shocked to angry. This woman has been running this scam for years, he says, shaking his head, and banks have been paying her off just to avoid the headache. So what do we do? Tom leans back in his chair. We fight. We contact our corporate legal team. We present all of this evidence, and we make it clear that First National Bank doesn't reward fraud. But Marcus, I need to warn you. This could get ugly. She's going to escalate. Are you prepared for that? I think about the last 2 weeks. The stress, the sleepless nights, the way people have been looking at me. Then I think about Jennifer's courage in coming forward. I think about how many other people Catherine has probably done this to. Yeah, I'm ready. The bank's legal team moves fast. They compile everything. The security footage, the police report, my perfect employment record, and now Jennifer's documentation showing Catherine's pattern of behavior. They draft a formal response to her accusations and send it to her lawyer. They also make it clear that if she doesn't retract her false statements, on social media, they'll pursue legal action for defamation and fraud. Catherine's response is to double down. She posts more aggressively, now claiming that the bank is trying to intimidate her into silence. She calls it a cover-up. She even does an interview with a small local news blog where she positions herself as a victim standing up to corporate corruption. The comment section is split between people who believe her and people who are starting to ask questions about her story. That's when something beautiful happens. The internet does what the internet does best. It investigates. People start digging into Catherine Morrison's background. They find the old news article about the previous bank incident. They find negative reviews from former Morrison tech employees on Glassdoor. They find a pattern slowly. The narrative starts to shift. One particularly tech-savvy person on Twitter creates a thread breaking down the timeline of Catherine's accusations and pointing out all the inconsistencies in her story. Why didn't she count the money at the bank? Why did she wait until the next day to complain? Why is there security footage showing she received the full amount? The thread goes viral, getting thousands of likes and shares. Suddenly, Catherine's posts aren't getting sympathy anymore. They're getting scrutiny. People start commenting, asking her to address the security footage. They ask why she's targeting a young employee instead of working with the bank's management. They ask about the previous incident. She deletes some of her posts and locks down her social media accounts. But by then, screenshots are everywhere. The small news blog that interviewed her posts a follow-up article titled, "Bank Provides Security Footage Contradicting CEO's Theft Claims." It includes quotes from the bank's legal team and frames the story completely differently. Other outlets pick it up. Within 48 hours, the story has gone from bank teller accused of theft to CEO accused of filing false police report. Tom calls me into his office 3 weeks after the initial incident. "Marcus, we'd like you to come back to work. Full reinstatement, no marks on your record. We're also giving you 2 weeks of additional paid time off as an apology for what you've been through. And between you and me, Corporate is discussing whether to pursue charges against Ms. Morrison for attempted fraud. I should feel relieved, but mostly I just feel exhausted. What about her? What's going to happen? Her lawyer contacted us yesterday. She's willing to retract her statements and issue a public apology in exchange for us not pursuing legal action. Apparently, her company's board of directors got wind of all this, and they're not happy about the publicity. She's facing some serious consequences at Morrison Tech. And Jennifer, the woman who came forward, Tom smiles. Funny you should mention her. She contacted me last week. Turns out she's been documenting workplace harassment at Morrison Tech for months. She's filed a formal complaint with their corporate office, and several other employees have come forward to support her claims. Catherine Morrison might not be CEO for much longer. I go back to work the following Monday. My coworkers greet me with applause and welcome back signs. It's embarrassing and touching at the same time. Susan hugs me and apologizes for the administrative leave, though I tell her I understand she was just doing her job. Life slowly returns to normal, or at least as normal as it can be after something like this. 2 months later, I'm reading the business section of the local paper when I see a headline that makes me stop. Morrison Tech Solutions CEO steps down amid harassment allegations. The article details how Catherine Morrison resigned under pressure from the board after multiple employees came forward with complaints about her behavior. Jennifer is quoted anonymously as saying, "This was about creating a workplace where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their position." I cut out the article and put it in my wallet, not because I'm celebrating Catherine's downfall, but because I want to remember that standing up for yourself matters, that the truth matters, that sometimes the people who seem the most powerful are actually the most fragile when their behavior is exposed to sunlight. A few weeks after that, I get a letter in the mail. It's from Catherine Morrison. I almost throw it away without opening it, but curiosity gets the better of me. Inside is a handwritten note. The handwriting is shaky, and the message is brief. Marcus, I owe you an apology that mere words cannot adequately express. What I did to you was wrong, cruel, and motivated by my own insecurities and prejudices. I have spent the last several months in therapy, working on understanding why I felt entitled to treat people the way I did. I'm not asking for your forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I am deeply sorry, and I hope that one day I can become a better person. Catherine, I read it 3 times. Part of me wants to tear it up, to dismiss it as too little too late. But another part of me recognizes that it takes courage to admit you were wrong, especially when you've lost so much because of it. I don't respond to the letter. I don't think I need to. I fold it up and put it in a drawer, and I let it go. Looking back now, 6 months later, I realized that whole experience taught me something important. It taught me that your integrity is worth fighting for. It taught me that documentation and evidence matter more than someone's title or bank account. It taught me that there are good people, like Jennifer, who will stand up for what's right even when it costs them something. But more than anything, it taught me about the assumptions people make. Catherine Morrison saw a young black man in a bank teller uniform and assumed she could manipulate the situation, that her word would automatically be believed over mine, that I wouldn't fight back. She assumed that the system would protect her and punish me because that's how the world has often worked for people who look like her versus people who look like me. What she didn't count on was that we live in a different era now, an era where security cameras catch everything, where social media can be a weapon, but also a tool for truth, where enough people are tired of watching powerful individuals abuse their power without consequences. She underestimated not just me, but the whole system that she thought would protect her. I still work at First National Bank. I'm still at window 3 most afternoons. I still help customers with their transactions, count their cash carefully, and ask them politely to verify the amount before they leave. But now, when I see someone walk in with that aura of entitlement, that look that says, they think they're more important than everyone else. I don't feel intimidated anymore. I feel prepared because I know that doing your job with integrity, treating people with respect, and standing up for the truth will always win in the end. It might not be easy. It might not be quick, but it will win. Catherine Morrison tried to destroy my career over a lie. Instead, she destroyed her own over the truth. And while I don't take any joy in what happened to her, I do take comfort in knowing that sometimes, just sometimes, justice actually works the way it's supposed to. These days when I train new tellers, I always tell them this story. Not to scare them, but to prepare them. I tell them that no matter how difficult a customer is, no matter how much they threaten or intimidate, your job is to follow procedure, document everything, and trust that the truth will come out. I tell them that your integrity is the most valuable thing you own. And no amount of money or power can take it away from you unless you give it up. And I always end with this advice. Treat every customer with respect, even when they don't deserve it. Not because they've earned it, but because you have standards for how you conduct yourself that have nothing to do with how others treat you. That's the difference between people like me and people like Catherine Morrison. Our behavior isn't dependent on circumstances. It's based on character. 6 months ago, I was a bank teller just trying to do my job. Today, I'm still a bank teller trying to do my job. But I'm also someone who learned that standing up for yourself isn't just about protecting your reputation. It's about setting a standard for how people should be treated, regardless of their position or the color of their skin. It's about refusing to accept that someone else's lie should have more power than your truth. So if you're ever in a situation where someone is trying to use their power or privilege to destroy you over something you didn't do, remember this story. Document everything. Tell the truth. Stand your ground. And trust that eventually the people who need to see the truth will see it. Because at the end of the day, Catherine Morrison didn't lose everything because I fought back. She lost everything because she built her power on a foundation of lies, intimidation, and the assumption that no one would challenge her. All it took was one person refusing to back down to bring the whole thing crashing down. I'm just glad I was that person. And I hope that if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, you'll be that person too. A person who stands up. The person who tells the truth. The person who refuses to let someone else's prejudice or power define who you are. That's my story. That's what happens when a CEO Karen tries to set up a bank teller and discovers that not everyone can be bullied into submission. Thanks for listening. And remember, your integrity is worth fighting for. Always.